Okay, looking like I'm live here, and let's go ahead and do this. What's going on, everybody? This is Monday, September 14th, and it is episode uno of Mondays with Mike, or Mike's Monday Morning Monologue, whichever you want to go with. I have been awake for approximately 20 minutes. So we're going to see how this goes. Essentially, what this is going to be is this is a supplementary show to Long Shot Sportscast. And what I'm going to do is recap the NFL Week 1 matchups game by game, as well as preview the Monday night game that is happening tonight, and which is actually a doubleheader because it is Week 1. And I will go into the Thursday games as well, which I had my phone somewhere and I don't have it right now. So I'm going to have to remember those scores off the dome. Anyhow, we're just going to get right into it. Once I share this, I'm doing this stuff just right off the hip. Let me just make that post. Yeah, it was an interesting week this week for sure. I mean, I'm just kind of glad we have football back in general. Okay. That will post. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. Obviously, we saw the Chiefs waylay the Texans, which we did talk about on Friday. So we'll get right into this. Jets and the Bills. Bills wind up beating the Jets 27-17. But Jets put up a little bit more of a fight than anybody thought, but I just don't see a good football team here. Sam Darnold doesn't seem to really be making a whole ton of improvement. At least, in kind of the smart, cerebral way that people expected upon him being drafted. He was kind of the mature quarterback, the thinking man's quarterback when he was drafted, whereas Josh Allen, I think, was perceived as kind of the big dummy. And far and away, Josh Allen's the best quarterback of this class, not named Lamar Jackson. Sam Darnold, of course, he, kind of a pedestrian stat line, 21 of 35, 215, 1 TD, 1 pick. Absolutely nothing going on in terms of the rushing game. Frank Gore, 6 for 24. That's not very good. Le'Veon Bell, even worse, 6 for 14. Josh Adams, 2 for 8 with a TD. And Sam Darnold 1 for 6. Receiving wise, Jamison Crowder had a standout day, 7 for 115 and a TD. That was a great day, but nobody else really got anything going. Rashad Perriman, kind of a disappointing game for him, considering he had a pretty decent year in Tampa last year. I think it was expected that he was going to step up into this offense a little bit more. And of course, the defense, a few sacks in there. Marcus May with 2 sacks. Good for him. But aside from that, I believe there was a couple fumbles in this game as well on the Bills' part. So they need to kind of tighten that ship a little bit. But Josh Allen, 33 for 46, 312, 2 TDs, no picks. And not much going in the rushing game except for Josh Allen again, 14 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Nothing really on the ground for Devin Singletary or Zach Moss, except for a touchdown in the air for Zach Moss, and then another one for John Brown, who I was aware of because of my fantasy team, 6 for 70 and a touchdown. And Stephon Diggs, no touchdowns, but decent at best, 8 for 86. He spread the ball around in the air quite a bit, though. And on defense, a couple Bills here with sacks. Matt Milano gets a pick, 3 tackles and pick. Mario Addison with a sack, Trent Murphy with a sack, and Tyrell Dodson with a sack as well. And Tyler Is it Tyler Bass or Bass? I would assume Bass. And he went 2 for 4 with a long of 22, with 9 points on the day. So I think the Jets, or I think the Bills are still going to be great. I think they're still going to win this division, but a little bit of a sloppier game than I think people were expecting, and I think a little bit more points allowed from a Jets team that, by all accounts, doesn't look very good than I think people were expecting. So maybe you need to tighten that ship a little bit. Moving on, we've got the Packers and the Vikings. And the Packers came to Minnesota. Also, if you hear whining, that's my dog in the background being a little drama queen. So just, I'm just going to ignore it. And, hopefully we all can do the same. Packers go to Minnesota and waylay the Vikings. The Vikings, don't be fooled by the 34 points. A lot of that came in garbage time. A fantasy football player's best friend. Aaron Rodgers has a tremendous game, 32 for 44, 364 yards, 4 tutties, no interceptions. On the ground, Aaron Jones, 16 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. Not much going aside from that. You had one 19-yard carry from Alan Lazard. And Devontae Adams, and I knew this because I was playing a guy who had Devontae Adams, carved them up. 14 receptions, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, even when he doesn't have guys to necessarily throw to, we all all off season, we kind of talked about him not having weapons. That was my primary reason for not having the Packers very highly seeded. It was that they, I said it right there on the show, you took a quarterback, a guy who's not going to see the field in years, over a guy like T. Higgins. But they're still getting it done. Devontae Adams is, proving why he's still one of the best receivers out there. And Marquez Valdes-Scantling had a great game, 4 for 96 and a touchdown. And Alan Lazard had a good game too, 4 for 63 and a touchdown. So his supporting cast, I think, is stepping up, and they deserve all the credit right now. And so I'm not afraid to send some their way. Jair Alexander had 4 tackles, a sack, and a pick. And Darius Smith with a sack as well. Other than that, not a ton of big stats on this Packers defense. And then the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, 19 for 25, surprisingly efficient, 259, 2 TDs and a pick. Dalvin Cook, 12 carries for only 50 yards, but 2 touchdowns. Alexander Madison, 6 carries for 50 yards. That's kind of going to be the interesting stat line we got to look at. And then Adam Thielen had a decent game, 6 for 110, 2 touchdowns. Can't ask for much more than that. Nobody else really getting it done in the air. And Justin Jefferson, the rookie, 2 for 26, 13 yards in average. So, I mean, you're going to need to, I think maybe that is a sign of things to come, but we'll see. And on defense, notably here, nobody gets a sack or a pick. And this was a pretty vaunted Vikings defense. I mean, they did lose Linval Joseph, but they added Yannick Ngakoue. So kind of an interesting deal here. I think they were just outmatched by a Packers team that is better than I've been giving them credit for. So we'll see what happens next. But good start for Green Bay. Can't ask for much more than that, considering I've had the Vikings pegged pretty high. Then you get the Eagles. Shit the bed, Fred. That's what that is. Washington football team, though. I'll tell you what. I wanted to pick them to win this game, and because they've been so crummy over the years, I couldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. And it bit me, man. They did it. They won. They're the leaders in the NFC East right now. At least until we see, maybe the Giants pull off a win against Pittsburgh that I sincerely doubt. But yeah, and so the the football team goes on and scores 20 unanswered points, and they win 27-17. Obviously, Ron Rivera, who had his recent cancer diagnosis, he was seen getting an IV he had a planned IV at halftime, and upon seeing that, I guess Dwayne Haskins rallied the troops and delivered an emotional halftime speech and got the guys going. And I mean, dadgum, man, it worked. Washington, I mean, Haskins had an okay day. 17 for 31, 178 and a TD. But on the ground, Peyton Barber had 2 scores, 17 carries, 29 yards. Not the most efficient stat line I've ever seen, but 2 touchdowns. And receiving wise, Logan Thomas, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, quiet, 5 for 61. And Steven Sims, 3 for 50. Not terrible. On the defense, though, 8 sacks from the squad, which goes to show you, A, how banged up Philly is, and B, just how good I think that they've shored up on this defensive line. I mean, you got to think about how many first round picks and how much talent they've plugged into this line over the years. Now you've got a defensive minded head coach like Ron Rivera, former Chargers D coordinator, pre Panthers, who's, I think, able to kind of push these guys over the edge a bit, not to mention, the addition of Chase Young. So looking at it here, John Bostic, 5 tackles and a sack. Chase Young, 2 for 2 on tackles, 1.5 sacks on the day. Matt Ioannidis, same deal. Ryan Kerrigan, 2 sacks. And I heard something about him maybe becoming Washington's all-time sack guy. Let me look that up real quick. Because I could be totally wrong here, but let me go. Redskins, let's see. Washington team career defensive leaders. Ryan Kerrigan, yep. He now leads that sack board. Next up would have been Dexter Manley from those historic 80s squads. During his tenure, they had won 2 Super Bowls. He had 91 sacks. Ryan Kerrigan, with the 2 that he had today, he jumps in with 92. So honestly, good for him. Interesting to note, Matt Ioannidis, who's been there since 2016, he's actually 16th on the list with 22. So still a ways to go, but kind of, I don't know. Found that kind of funny. Charles Mann right behind Dexter Manley too, another great defender on that team, and Monty Coleman as well. So interesting. I'm just seeing all these names. Brian Arakpo, interesting. I remember him. So yeah, great game by Kerrigan, great game by that defense overall. Montez Sweat had a sack, Jonathan Allen had half a sack, and Darren Payne had half a sack. Fabian Moreau had a pick, and Jimmy Moreland had a pick as well. So I mean, they were all over the place when it came to really making life hell for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, 24 for 42, 272 and 2. Nothing going on the ground game. I noticed a lot of fantasy trends a lot of fantasy football trends toward picking up Boston Scott, but his stat line doesn't really show me much. He caught 2 for 19 in the air, on the ground 9 for 35. That's not terribly efficient. Corey Clement not having the best stat line either, but I've never been much of a Corey Clement believer as it is. I always was kind of selling on him. But the tight end, Dallas Goedert, puts up a good game. Zach Ertz, not really anywhere to be found. Dallas Goedert, 8 for 101 and a touchdown. And Jalen Reagor, 1 catch, but it was a 55-yard bomb. And Deshaun Jackson, 2 for 46, which I was more than aware of because I started him in my flex, and I, by all means, should have put Alan Lazard or J.K. Dobbins in there. So disappointing night on the whole if you're an Eagles fan, but if you're a Washington fan, ride the wave, dude. Like, honestly, I should have just kind of picked this on upset alert. Nobody really had any upsets, I think, heading into our predictions. I got to change that. I got to go more on my gut, I think, and this taught me a lesson. But where I was absolutely right to not pick any upset of the sort, it was the Browns and the Ravens. The Ravens absolutely waylaid the Browns. There's no doubt about that. Browns pick up 6 in the first quarter, and then it's just off to the races for Baltimore. It's the annual Lamar Jackson just decimation of his week one opponent, 5 scores, just does whatever the hell this guy wants. Baker Mayfield, 189 in the air, 1-1. Rushing, not too much to be found there either. Kareem Hunt, 13 carries, 72 yards. Nick Chubb, 10 carries for 60. Then receiving wise, Jarvis Landry, 5 for 61. Odell Beckham, only 3 for 22. Rip to anybody who started him. David Njoku, 3 for 50 and a touchdown, though he did exit in the fourth quarter with I believe, an ankle injury, if I'm not wrong. Let's see. Sounds like a lot of Browns got hurt. Starting left tackle, Jedrick Wills left the game early in the fourth quarter and did not return. He went down with a leg injury and reportedly could not put weight on the leg as he limped in the locker room. That's a huge loss for them, considering that's their first round pick right there. This is the guy who was reportedly the best graded tackle coming out of college. If they lose him, I mean, I can't imagine it being much better for Browns fans. Fellow rookie Jacob Phillips also suffered a leg injury, and that's a knee injury right there. Not good. They've got him in a big time. Excuse me. Wow. Like I said, I've been awake for like a half hour. They've got him in a big time cast. Not a good sign. And like I said, David Njoku, and he left early with a knee injury as well. So, man. That's not good. Jedrick Wills' X-rays are negative on the injured leg, but he will have an MRI. Damn, that's not a good start for Cleveland. It just seems to be how it goes, I guess, man. Anyhow, defense was not much better. Tavier Thomas with a sack. Adrian Claiborne with a sack. Wow, he's still around. Holy moly. That feels like an old name, but I guess he's only been playing since 2011. I don't know. It just feels like I hadn't heard his name in a minute. But for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, I mean, about as good as you can get. 20 for 25, 275 in the air, 3 touchdowns. Robert Griffin III even had a completion for 9, because why the hell not? J.K. Dobbins is a guy to watch here. He is for sure a touchdown vulture, very much like another guy I'm going to get to. Mark Ingram, 10 for 29. If you started Mark Ingram in fantasy, rip. J.K. Dobbins, 7 for 22, but 2 touchdowns, and I left him on my bench. What are you going to do? Receiving wise, Willie Snead with a touchdown. I keep forgetting he exists. And Mark Andrews with 2 touchdowns as well, off of 5 for 58. Marquise Brown, though, Hollywood, doing kind of the legwork here, 5 for 101. I mean, what more can you say? Even though he didn't find the end zone this week, he's a young, fast receiver, averaging 20 yards a carry. Or 20 yards a catch. That's pretty damn good. And a defense here, a couple sacks there. Tyus Bowser, and the rookie Patrick Queen, 4 for 4 on tackles and a sack. So good on him. I knew he was going to be great coming out of college. He was my favorite linebacker. And Marlon Humphrey with a pick. The sky is blue, water's wet. Baker Mayfield throws an interception. So yeah, I mean, damn, just all out decimation by the Baltimore Ravens. But what more do you expect? Even though I have the Chiefs going to and winning the Super Bowl, I still have the Ravens as my number 1 seed overall. So moving on, we have the upset of the week. Not even the Washington football team gets that honor, because the Jacksonville Jaguars, who everybody had pegged to go 0-16, 1-15. I don't think anybody saw anything out of this Jacksonville Jaguars team. And they pull up a week 1 defeat of the Indianapolis Colts, a team that maybe we were all kind of playing up a little too much. Maybe I was drinking some more of Pat McAfee's Kool-Aid than I would like to admit. I don't know. I mean, every dog has its day. does this just mean that, the Jaguars, this is like one of their 3 wins that they're going to get on the season? Or are they going to ride a wave of momentum? We don't know here. But Gardner Minshew was efficient as hell, 19 for 20, 173 in the air. That's not going to really decimate anybody too bad, or really impress anybody too much. But 3 touchdowns. I mean, give it up for the mustache. He's doing everything right, even with no real rushing game. James Robinson, 16 for 62. That's, fine. Minshew again on the ground, 5 for 19. And then receiving, Keelan Cole, 5 for 47 and a touchdown. Laviska Shenault Jr., 3 for 37 and a touchdown. Believe that is a rook. Yeah, another rookie from this vaunted receiving class. And then DJ Chark. Everybody calls him Shark. If it's Shark, then I apologize. 3 for 25 and a touchdown. Tyler Eifert, 1 catch for 8 yards. That's about as safe as you can be with him before he gets tackled and shatters like a doll. I'm sorry. I've never seen a more injury-prone dude. At least in my years of being a football fan. I don't know. And D.D. Westbrook, interesting to know, a healthy scratch. So, like I said, I keep waiting, but I guess they didn't want to play him. So, Chris Thompson, not a factor in the air or the ground. Bummer, because I did like him in Washington. And the defense, Miles Jack with a sack. C.J. Henderson, the rookie, 5 tackles and a pick. And let's see. And Andrew Wingard with with an interception. The Colts. Well, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. Phillip Rivers, 363 through the air. 1 touchdown, 2 picks. So more of the same from a man I respect a great deal. But I was kind of expecting him to kind of have his Brett Favre with the Vikings year here. And he might still have that, but it's looking like more of that base dash Phil Rivers. He's got all the time in the world to throw now with, that Colts O-line, and it doesn't matter. Naeem Hines got, 7 for 28 on the ground, a touchdown. He also got 1 in the air, 4 for 45 and a score. That was the only touchdown Rivers threw. And on defense, Danico Autry, 2 sacks. Justin Houston with a sack. Kari Willis with a sack. So Darius Leonard, surprisingly, 4 tackles, but nothing, not killing them with the sackage. And Xavier Rhodes, not exactly a factor in that passing game either. So, yeah, good on them. Good on them, Jacksonville. Ride this wave. Do it. If anything, do it for the mustache. Okay. Raiders, Panthers was a shootout, and I don't think anybody expected it. I have them pretty close. Like I said, I've told people left and right, I have the Panthers being better than advertised. I don't think they're this 3-13, 4-12 team that a lot of people are saying. And I don't have the Raiders really going to the playoffs either. I think that defense was giving up a lot of points. Their offense could score. Don't get me wrong. Josh Jacobs, I have him in one of my fantasy teams, and he lit it up. 25 for 93, 3 scores. David Carr looking very pedestrian out there, 239 and a touchdown. Henry Ruggs had 3 catches for 55 yards, but one of them was a big-ass 45-yard boom, almost a score. Nelson Aguilar gets the only receiving touchdown for the Raiders, which tells you just about everything you need to know. Defense-wise, Jonathan Abram, 9 tackles. I do like him a lot. It pains me that he's wearing black and silver, but as impartial as speaking impartially, that's what I mean to say. He's a hell of a ball player. Maurice Hurst and Carl Nassib split a sack on the day. But aside from that, the defense doesn't really get a whole hell of a lot done when they allow 30 points. The Panthers. Oh, I should mention, let's see. Daniel Carlson, 2 for 2 with a long of 54 yards. 10 points on the day for him. And Panthers, Teddy Bridgewater, 22 for 34, 270 and a touchdown. Not bad. Christian McCaffrey, 23 for 96 on the ground, 2 scores. And he also caught another 3 for 38 in the air. Teddy Bridgewater, 4 for 26 on the ground. Robbie Anderson, 6 for 115 and a score. And he had a big-ass bomb of a touchdown. I don't know for how much, but yeah, that was a big part. But he's kind of going to help put a shot in the arm for this receiving core. I forgot he signed in Carolina when we were doing our pregame analysis on Friday. I kind of had it chalked up to DJ Moore and maybe Curtis Samuel having a bounce back year. But Robbie Anderson, welcome to Carolina. Great start there. Defense, no sacks, no surprise. And yeah, Derek Brown, one of 2 tackles. And who was their other one? Yetur Gross-Matos, 0 for 1. So the rookie's not blowing anybody out quite yet, but give it time. That was Reverend Lovejoy. All right. Anyway, I expect better from the Panthers coming up. I just think we need to wait and see with them. Bears, Lions. Bears come back 21 points in the fourth quarter. Lions blow a 17-point lead, and they show you exactly why Matt Patricia's seat is the hottest in the NFL. This is my candidate right now for a guy who could get canned midseason. And it's not like they gave it to a sputtering Bears team. I mean, Mitch Trubisky wasn't terribly efficient in the air in terms of his catches and attempts, but 242 yards, 3 scores, no picks. If you're a Trubisky fan, you see a 0 in that interception column, you're doing a dance. David Montgomery, 13 for 64 on the ground. Running game, not a huge factor here. I mean, it's just split between a few guys. Tariq Cohen, 7 for 41. In the air, Anthony Miller owners are finally getting something paid off to him. 4 for 76 and a TD after being told for years that he's the future. Jimmy Graham, 3 for 25 and a score. So he is good for something. And Javon Wims, 1 for 1 with an average of 1 yard and a score. So I think that is as singly efficient as you can be. Akeem Hicks with a sack, Kyle Fuller with a pick. And for the Lions, Matt Stafford, 24 for 42, 297, a tutty and a pick. Adrian Peterson, freshly signed, 14 carries, 93 yards, no touchdowns. But DeAndre Swift, 3 carries, 8 yards, a touchdown, and a costly drop. He had a chance to catch the game-winning touchdown, and it butterfingered it. That's how it goes sometimes, Rook. Danny Amendola, 5 for 81 in the air, no scores. TJ Hawkinson, 5 for 56 in scores. If you started him on a whim, he paid you back some dividends. Marvin Jones, 4 for 55. Aside from that, not too much going on there. Trey Flowers had a nice little sackaroonie. Aside from that, nobody really impressing all that much. But yeah, I mean, I had the Bears pegged to go and win this thing. The Lions were coming out, real hot and dominant, but it's hard to back a team that gives up 24 points in the fourth quarter. Matt Patricia, watch your back. It's not looking good. And the Belichick coaching tree is one of the most disappointing when you consider Belichick's success and you look at the guys that have kind of come out of that. I've got a strong feeling Matt Patricia is going to be another one of those casualties. So Seattle goes to Atlanta and decimates. They looked absolutely unstoppable on the day, 38-25, but do not let the 25 fool you. Atlanta scored a touchdown in a big old garbage time. It was 38-18 for a long time. Took the Falcons a while to get anything going. They could not just shift into gear and get anything done. They had a couple drives that made you think they were onto something, and then quickly sputtered out. Russell Wilson, 31 for 35, 322, and 4 TDs. Ladies and gentlemen, these are MVP-like numbers. I hope to see him get some MVP votes. I would like to again remind you that I am the non-Seahawks fan on the podcast, so I'm not being a homer here. But you did see, but you did say Tyrod Taylor was going to have a Pro Bowl season. Nah, I don't want to be reminded of that. Not now, not right now. Russ 3 for 29 on the ground. Carlos Hyde 7 for 23 and a touchdown. So good for him, I guess. Chris Carson 6 for 21 on the ground, but he caught 2 touchdowns off of 45 yards. And DK Metcalf 4 for 95 and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett 8 for 92. I mean, this receiving core is great, and when they get Josh Gordon, they're going to be even better. Philip Dorsett didn't catch a ball, not a factor. And Greg Olsen, welcome back, 4 for 24 and a touchdown. I mean, can't ask for much more than that. Will Disley, 2 catches, 8 yards, but really a non-factor in this game. Jamal Adams had a big game, 8 tackles, 4 assisted, 1 sack. Just an immediate presence on this defense, a defense that definitely was said, yes, please, thank you, and more. Quandre Diggs with a pick as well. So nice job. And then Atlanta, Matt Ryan, 37, but you threw the ball 54 times, 450 yards, 2 TDs and a pick. I mean, all those yards, but nothing. You don't got a dash in the win column there, Maddie. You got to figure something out. Todd Gurley, 14 for 56 and a touchdown, but he looked good at the start. They didn't really use him much toward the end. And it's one of those things where he's kind of a ticking clock anyway. So kind of going to be interesting to see how they use him moving forward, considering they don't have much in terms of somebody to pair him with. Julio, I am a Julio Jones owner, but it was Calvin Ridley who absolutely just thrashed. 9 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. Julio, 9 for 157. Russell Gage, 9 for 114. 999. Gage had this awesome play in the fourth quarter where he caught the ball. I don't know who he did it with, but he caught the ball late in the third, or it was early fourth, and he full on hurdled over a dude standing. It was something else. The tight end, Hayden Hurst, 3 for 38. He had a couple big potential plays that were just broken up by a better defender, but look for him to be incorporated into the offense more in future games when they're not playing a shutdown Seahawks pass D that's better than it's been since the best it's been since probably the prime Legion of Boom days. On the defense there, Tack McKinley with a sack, Grady Jarrett with a sack and a half, Dante Fowler with a half a sack, and I forgot that he went there. And then a Younghoe Koo, however, I care to remember they said it. 2 field goals with a long 49. I'm so glad he's doing this in Atlanta when, he wasn't doing it in a Chargers uniform, but that's me being a sour grape, and I love the Money Badger. So Dolphins lose to the Pats. Some things change, some things stay the same. 11-21. Somebody check and see if that's scoregami, because 11 is not a very common number. Ryan Fitzpatrick does Ryan Fitzpatrick things. 20 for 30, 191, and 3 picks. This is the kind of performance you would expect from him after him teasing you for a couple weeks. Normally we get the 2 weeks of Fitzpatrick throwing for 400 plus yards and 4 touchdowns, and then he rushes for 1, and then he breaks a dude in half over his ankle or over his knee. and then his beard becomes sentient and you know starts dancing with a top hat, and I don't know. Uh, No, no such luck. Not against a Bill Belichick defense. 20 for 30, 191, and three interceptions for you. That's all you get. Rushing game, not much better. Matt Breida, disappointing, 5 for 22. Jordan Howard, even more disappointing, 8 for 7, but he did get a score. Miles Gaskin was the leader here, 9 for 40. And receiving wise, I mean, gosh, pick anybody. They lost. I'm not even going to get into the specifics. Kyle Van Noy, 5 tackles. Christian Wilkins, a 5 and a sack. Jerome Baker, 13 tackles and a sack. Good for you, man. That's about all I can say. Jason Sanders, whoop whoop, nice 1 for 1 for 46. Good job. Cam Newton, 15 for 19, 155 in the air, but he was 15 carries for 75 yards and 2 TDs on the ground. Sony Michel, 10 for 37 and a touchdown on the ground. Aside from that, nobody a huge factor in that rush game. Receiving wise, Julian Edelman, 5 for 57, N'Keal Harry, 5 for 39. So nobody really posting up good scores, even in like a half-point PPR situation if you're a fantasy owner for these guys. On defense, Adrian Phillips, the former Charger, 8 tackles and a pick. Nicely done, man. I always I like to see the former Chargers do well when they don't go to a blood rival of ours. So, Stephon Gilmore doing Stephon Gilmore things, 4 tackles and a pick. So nicely done. And then JC Jackson comes up with a pick as well. So can't ask for much more than that. Nick Folk, their kicker, 0 for 1. Why'd you let Gostowski go? I don't think anybody's even signed. Oh, no, the Titans signed him. He goes and he's hanging out with Mike Vrabel now. But yeah, good win for the Pats. We'll see how they continue to play. I like the Dolphins in a couple of years. I don't quite have them there yet. So this was to be expected. I mean, Cam's still a good quarterback. We move on to the Chargers and the Bengals. This game had me biting my nails all day. I didn't get to watch this thing. I had to listen to it on via an LA radio station. Tyrod Taylor could not really get the offense going. It was infuriating to listen to because this is a guy that I like. But he was 16 for 30 in the air, 208 yards, no touchdowns, but no picks either. Austin Eckler, 19 carries for 84 yards. But the big story here is Josh Kelly, 12 for 60 and a score. And it was just a bursting force coming through the line. When they're not telegraphing that they're going to go to him in short yardage, I can't stress that enough. Hunter Henry, 5 for 73 in the air. Mike Williams, 4 for 69 in the air. Keenan Allen, though, 4 for 37, but he was not targeted all that much. But Tyrod Taylor looked unsure. He looked scared, but he wasn't sacked very much despite the poor offensive line. Trey Turner and Mike Pouncey were out today. That's 2 starters right there. So I don't know. We'll see. But they looked like they were getting it together more toward the end, but I don't know. But the Chargers defense was a good squad. They were forcing a lot of 3 and outs on the day. Casey Hayward with 12 tackles. Joey Bosa, 5 and a sack. Uchenna Nwosu, 2 and a sack. Good for you. Jerry Tillery, last year's rookie, 2 and a sack. And Melvin Ingram with a pick. And I believe there was a fumble forced. I just got to remember who did it. I want to say it was Nick Vigil, but I don't quite remember. Drew Tranquil went out in the first quarter with a bad ankle injury. Carted him off. Doesn't look like he's going to probably come back this year. Nick Vigil stepped in for him and played very well. Matter of fact, nothing, believed to have a broken ankle is what they're saying as of 4 hours ago, which really sucks, man. Not having any of that. Let's see. Denzel Perriman forced Mixon to fumble, and then Nick Vigil recovered it. And then they brought him to the 24-yard line. They weren't able to score off of that, though. And this is one of the things I watched Anthony Lynn talk to these guys about it. He congratulated him for a win because it is hard to win in this league. But he said, listen, if we're at short yardage, I expect you to pick up that yardage, because there was a couple times where they didn't. But at the same time, there's, you're what, 3rd and 1, 4th and short. You've essentially drafted the next LeGarrette Blount in Josh Kelly. If there's one thing that LeGarrette Blount was great at, it was punching it in for 1 yard, 2 yards. Don't try to finesse and limp Tyrod Taylor through there. Just punch Josh Kelly in there. For crying out loud, that's what you drafted him for. Aside from that, though, the defense played very well, really kept us in this thing long enough for Badgley to convert 3 of 4 field goals for a long of 43. He missed the 50-yarder. Bummer on that. But that wasn't the most embarrassing miss of the game, because Randy Bullock, he shanked a 31-yard possible game tire after he hit a long of 50. So Joe Burrow, he had a decent little game, but no scores. He almost had a score, but it got called back on an OPI. What are you going to do? He did have a touchdown, however, just not through the air. 8 for 46 and a touchdown on the ground. In the air, 23 for 36, 193 and a pick. Joe Mixon, 19 for 69, but he had a costly fumble, as we talked earlier. AJ Green, 5 for 51 and a called back touchdown because of an OPI. CJ Uzomah, 4 for 45. Tyler Boyd, 4 for 33. And then on defense, Josh Bynes, 4 and a sack. Sorry, my bad. I'm in slow motion. Carl Lawson, 4 and a sack as well. So nothing too terribly crazy here. Chargers pick up a win. They're going to ride this momentum into a week 2 encounter with the Chiefs, where the slaughter will commence. Cardinals pull off another upset here over the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. Kyler Murray, 26 for 40, 230 and touchdown and a pick, but he also had 13 for 91 yards and a rushing touchdown. Great night for Kyler Murray. Kenyon Drake, 16 for 60 and a score after kind of walking funny. I believe he had a slight injury in the first quarter, but he came back and finished out. And DeAndre Hopkins, 14 for 151 yards, no score yet, but he played. I mean, those are DeAndre Hopkins' numbers. He would really play well on the Texans. Texans could use a guy like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Chase Edmonds, 3 for 19 and a score. Larry Fitzgerald, 4 for 34. And Max Williams with the greatest stat line of all. 0 for 0 for 0 for 0. So good job. Never change. Buda Baker, 10 tackles. Good golly, Miss Molly. Zach Allen with a sack. Angelo Blackson with a sack. Chandler Jones with a sack. And the defense played pretty damn good. They had times where they didn't play very good. They had times where they played very good. And they also have a guy by the name of Chris Banjo, who has the coolest last name in the league. So right on. Zane Gonzalez, though, 1 for 3, but he hit a 56-yarder. So I don't know. This is the guy that went 0 for 4 and lost his job with the Browns 2 years ago. So make of that what you will. Jimmy Garoppolo, 19 for 33, 259, 2 touchdowns. Not bad. Raheem Mostert, 15 carries, 56 yards. But 4 for 95 through the air and a touchdown. If you started him on fantasy, you were pretty happy today. Jerick McKinnon, 3 for 20 in the air and a touchdown. So their running backs are just catching all the touchdowns here. Interesting to note, Jordan Reed signed with the Niners, and I wasn't aware of it. George Kittle, not a factor. 4 catches for 44. That was it. They did a great job bottling him up, which makes sense. He's the most dangerous weapon on that offense. Oh, and Dante Pettis, more of the same, 0 for 0 for 0 for 0. So nice. Anybody who owned him in fantasy last year or the year before, they know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. Manuel Mosley, 11 tackles. Nicely done. Jaquiski Tart, cool name, 1 pick. Kerry Hyder with a sack. DJ Jones with a sack. Yada, yada. Yeah, not the best showing for San Fran, but maybe Arizona's better than we all thought. I mean, Skyler's got them as a playoff team. I think we'll see, but they're putting it together. Kyler Murray's looking better than ever. Then we come to a game that I wasn't going to be fooled by. The Saints destroy the Buccaneers. Bucs had a garbage time touchdown. But for the most part, I mean, this was New Orleans' game right here. Tom Brady playing like Jameis Winston out there, 23 for 36, 239, 2 TDs, 2 picks. Not the best showing for Brady. He did have 1 rushing touchdown. So, I don't know, 43-year-old Tom Brady has a rushing touchdown. All right. Ronald Jones, 17 for 66, no score. Leonard Fournette, 5 carries, 5 yards. Ugh. I mean, ugh. Chris Godwin, 6 for 79. Scott Miller, 5 for 73. OJ Howard, 4 for 36 and a score. Everybody else, fucking who hurt you? Rob Gronkowski, 2 for 11. Mike Evans, 1 for 2 and a score. But I mean, who fucking hurt you? Levante David, 7 tackles on the day, but the only sack on the squad goes to Jason Pierre-Paul, the 8-fingered one. So good for you. Ryan Succop misses a field goal, but goes 1 for 2, 38. But the Saints here, Drew Brees, 18 for 30, 160 and 2. These are Drew Brees numbers now. This is probably his last season. Taysom Hill, 1 for 1 for 38 yards. Latavius Murray was the leading back in carries, 15 for 48. Alvin Kamara, 12 for 16, but he had a score. And Alvin Kamara went 5 for 51 in the air and a score. So that's what we're looking at here. Jared Cook, 5 for 80. I think that's good for 10.5 point PPRs. Good for you. Emmanuel Sanders, 3 for 15 and a score. So he's already putting in work on this offense. And on defense, Demario Davis, 1 sack. Trey Hendrickson with a sack. Carl Granderson with a sack. And it was Janoris Jenkins with the only pick 6 of the day. That's right, folks. Tom Brady threw the only pick 6 of the week, which is funny because that's how his Patriots career ended as well. So Janoris Jenkins with the pick 6. Marcus Williams with a pick. Will Lutz, 2 for 2, but they were both chip shots. So, but the Saints, I mean, business as usual. These guys looked dominant. They did not look like the Buccaneers were going to give them any trouble. Buccaneers go up 7-0 in the first quarter, and then it was the New Orleans Saints show from that point on. This is kind of what I predicted, though. Buccaneers are going to take like a month to really get shit going, and then give it just a little bit of time, and they'll be there. Give it till mid-October. I think by mid-October they'll have a pretty pedestrian record, and then they turn on the Jets. Or maybe Tom Brady is actually showing signs of age and being human. Who knows? And then the final game of Sunday night, the Cowboys lose to the Rams 17-20, the first game of the newly christened SoFi Stadium. Dak Prescott was looking like he was in trouble here much of the game. His O-line, they've effectively let the greatest O-line of the 2010s waste away at their hands. Travis Frederick retired, and let me see here. Yeah, sure. Depth chart. That's what I'm looking for. Holy moly. Yeah, Tyron Smith was there, and Zach Martin was there. But aside from that, I mean, the other pieces, Joe Looney, Connor Williams, Terrence Steele. This was not a good day for the Cowboys overall, but especially not for their offensive line. Dak Prescott was getting smothered out there. Does not help that they are trying to hold off the best defensive player in football right now, in Aaron Donald, an absolute nightmare. Don't let the stats fool you. He was an absolute presence on that field all day long. Took two guys to hold him back, and even then, he was throwing two guys off at a time to smother Dak. Dak, give him credit where it's due. He was pretty mobile getting out of the pocket, but this was, I mean, that is a tall order. Zeke, 22 for 96 on the ground and a touchdown, and then Ezekiel Elliott again, 3 for 31 in the air and a touchdown. So if you started him, you were happy. Everybody else, I mean, Amari Cooper had enough to give you, 13 points. CeeDee Lamb, a promising 5 for 59. He had a big old catch there toward the beginning. Want to see more out of him. Michael Gallup could have had a big-ass catch to go with his 3 for 50, but he had a little bit of a push-off there, depending on who you ask. Other than that, they lose Leighton Vander Esch to a collarbone injury, and Blake Jarwin got hurt as well. I believe that was a knee injury, but don't quote me on that. But Alden Smith, welcome back. 1 sack, 6 tackles. He's looking real good out there. Actually had the only sack for them. And Chidobe Awuzie had a interception. Let's see. CeeDee Lamb also was returning punts. Interesting to note. And Greg Zuerlein missed a field goal. Legatron did not get a second one over on his team. And you consider it right there, that missed field goal cost them overtime. So, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, he missed it, they lose. But I mean, it could have been tied heading into the end of the fourth, and it was not. So, Rams, Jared Goff, 275, no TDs, and a pick. I mean, these are Jared Goff numbers. I'm not the biggest Jared Goff fan. I think he had one great year, and they paid him a boatload of money, and he didn't pay it off last year, and that this is not the stat line to pay it off this year. But they got to win. Malcolm Brown. Good on you, man. 18 for 79, 2 scores, and 3 for 31 in the air as well. Great job. Cam Akers, 14 for 39. You have much to learn, young Padawan. And in the air, Robert Woods, 6 for 105. He was looking real good out there. Cooper Kupp, 4 for 40. I mean, he was looking all right. Tyler Higbee, 3 for 40. Everybody else, no. And on defense, of course, I talked about Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, 2 and a sack. Michael Brockers, 2 and a sack. He had a nasty sack, too. And, of course, Aaron Donald has a sack as well. So that is – and Samuel Sloman, I kept calling him a nerd because it was funny to me. 2 for 3 on field goals. He's a rookie, long of 35. So it's going to be interesting to see how stuff goes in week 2. Obviously, we've got 2 big Monday night matchups. We got the Steelers taking on the Giants. I've got the Steelers in this game. I believe the Steelers are to be the favorites, but I've got Saquon on one of my fantasy teams, so I'm really hoping for something big here. I think the game is going to be closer than you think. I've got a predicted score of 24-21. Andrew Thomas going to be making his debut on the Giants O-line. We're going to see how that goes. And an O-line that lost Nate Soldier, however you say it. So that's going to be something to note. But yeah. So, and then the Steelers. This is going to be the highly touted return for Big Ben Roethlisberger. Juju Smith-Schuster was really missing him all year last year, and we're going to see who really benefits from that. Obviously, James Conner still present as their running back. So we're going to see how that goes. I got the Steelers winning, but I've got the Giants making it a bit of a struggle. So see there. And then I've got the Titans winning this one. Titans and the Broncos. Obviously, I hate the Broncos, but I feel for them. They lost Von Miller, and we don't even know if Cortland Sutton's going to be able to play this week. So I guess Vic Fangio said, Cortland Sutton, do 10 jumping jacks for me if you want to go out and play. That's about as primitive the test as you can get for his injury. But We'll see what happens. We're gonna see year 2 of Drew Lock and see kind of what they've gotten him. But I like the Titans defense. You've added Jadeveon Clowney now, even better. I expect the Titans to win here, but if the if the Broncos offense can get a spark going, I expect more of the same. I had 24-21 in this one too. I'm going to go ahead and say 27-17 Tennessee. But on my pick'em thing, I had 24-21. Doesn't matter. Terry's going to beat me in that anyway. And then the preview for Thursday night, we've got the Bengals taking on the Browns in Cleveland. I'm going to go ahead and say the Bengals locking this one in. They get their first win. I'm going to say 24-20. I think the Browns are going to put up a bit more of a fight here, but no, give me the Bengals getting their first win over a Cleveland team that can't seem to catch a break. Brady has the Browns winning. Holy moly. I know Brady's got the Browns in this game, and Skylar has the Bengals. I don't remember how much. I don't have my phone, and I'm not going to go get it. And then our coworker Alex, who has been on the show a couple times, he has the Bengals winning 30-16. And if that happens and he gets even one of those scores right, I will buy him a tall boy because he does not give a shit about football. So be kind of funny. Anyway, that is your Sunday recap and your Monday preview. So yeah, football's back. I'm very happy to have it. So tune in next time. I'll be back Friday with the show, and then I'll be here another Monday to get it going again. So take care, guys.